mass support amongst the people of Iran who believe in democracy, who believe in pluralism, who believe in parliamentarism, who believe in choice, who believe in equality, who believe in justice, who believe in the rule of law. If what the butchers, the tyrants, the demagogues from Iran's government are saying is that there isn't unanimity, well, of course there is not unanimity. My friends, there is unanimity, that is to say, one view only, to be found only in heaven or in hell. Of course there is not unanimity, and Mrs. Rajvi and her mass movement cannot be expected to unite with the enemies of democracy, with people who don't favour pluralism, people who don't want democratic change, who don't believe in equality, who don't think there should be a right to regular and independently monitored elections, but amongst the mass of people for whom the flame of freedom will never be extinguished and for whom that flame burns brightly, there is mass support for change. And everything I've heard, and I've listened to Mrs. Rajvi many times, from her and her colleagues tells me that they aren't looking for outsiders to change Iran. The event in Paris was a magnificent testament to the support across Europe and North America that exists. 50 people speaking 11 days ago in an all-day conference in tribute to Mrs. Rajvi and the National Council. And what those people were saying, including me, is what we shouldn't do is get in the way. We shouldn't be an obstacle. We shouldn't be propping up a dictatorship. But the vehicle of change that Mrs. Rajvi advocates, and which is dear to her heart, is a domestic vehicle of change, homegrown, from Iranian soil, the people of Iran determining their own future. And the reason why I speak so enthusiastically in support of change in Iran is that for all the faults and foibles and failings of my own country's democracy, it is nevertheless a democracy. And I'm passionate about and proud of that fact, as Italian statesmen, human rights activists, civil society representatives will similarly be proud of their democracy in Italy. And we do not have the right to look the other way, to fly home and to forget about Iran's plight. It is time that the forces of change, of democracy, of the rule of law, of justice in Iran, represented by the National Council and embodied very personally in the leadership of Mrs. Rajvi, had their opportunity. They should enjoy the freedom, the peace, the justice, the rule of law that we have so long enjoyed and they have too long been denied. Let it begin here and spread out across the nations until there is a deafening cry for change and the tyrants of Tehran are relegated to the dustbin of history where they belong. Thank you.